Happy Friday, guys, and welcome to day 16 of my 31-day challenge in August. We are at the halfway point, which is so exciting. If you guys have been following along my August challenge, you know that I've been giving a daily goal each day of the month throughout August, something to work on towards creating a life that we love, being our best selves, being motivated, and all of that. So if you've missed any of these videos, I'll have my playlist down below, my kickoff video that kind of explains the idea behind this challenge. I'll have the download link for the calendar if you want to pick up. Now's a great time to pick up on the challenge as we enter into the second half of the month. We have some repeat steps from what we've already done. So if you haven't seen any of the past videos or been doing the challenge up until now, it's still a great time to jump in and get started. So for today, for day 16, this is kind of a tough one today. I have on the calendar is have an uncomfortable conversation. Having uncomfortable conversations are so hard because obviously it's uncomfortable. It can be a really great growth experience. It can be a really great experience in understanding how to communicate better with others, because a lot of times with relationships, with friendships, one of the biggest issues or strains that can happen is miscommunication. Miscommunication has destroyed some of my friendships, to be honest. Not communicating well enough, letting other people create the narrative for friendships, for relationships, that can cause strains in relationships and friendships with friends, with family members, and all of that. So sometimes you have to have an uncomfortable conversation, maybe to kind of fix any sort of miscommunication that has happened, or sometimes it can also be a lot more than that. Maybe you're communicating to someone about problems that you're having. We've already talked in the challenge about asking someone for wisdom, asking someone for advice, and that can be really challenging to do. So maybe this would be like a twofer for you if you're having to do that. There's a lot of different ways we can have an uncomfortable conversation. I'm of course going to give an example because that's what I've been doing every day, but I'm going to be a little bit vague on this one because this is actually a conversation that I had with someone about them, not necessarily about me. So I'm going to try to be as vague as I can. But that's another thing too with the challenge, like I've been saying, to have this be really individual to you and your specific needs, goals, what's going on in your life right now. Maybe don't take this as you have to ask someone else to have a conversation about you, what they think about you, what do you need to work on. You definitely can do it that way. Sometimes it's really great to ask another person, like, if you're kind of stuck with something about yourself, like what did they think? What's their advice that they can offer to you? That can be a good one too, though uncomfortable. But this might have to mean that you have to have an uncomfortable conversation with someone else about them. And that can be really challenging. That's a position that I found myself in recently. I had someone in my life that I felt like they had a pretty bad habit that was getting a little bit out of hand. And to be honest, it took me not days, not weeks, but months to work up to having a conversation, because it was something that I felt like could be detrimental to this person. I felt like it was something that could be causing a strain between us. And this is a person that I really care about. Just like with the challenge, I want to be my best self. I want others in my life to be their best selves too. And sometimes that has to mean having an uncomfortable conversation with someone. So that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it, again, because it's not really about me, it's about someone else. But I did have to have an uncomfortable conversation, and like I said, it took me a very long time to work my way up to it, because I didn't want this person to be really upset or down on themselves or things like that. So you have to really kind of handle those conversations delicately also, and always remind people, I think, when you're having an uncomfortable conversation, because I've had some in the past too, of having to talk with friends about I don't love this, or maybe can we fix that, and things, to also remind people of how much you appreciate them, how much you really do care about them. A conversation is coming out of love, coming from a good place, and all of that. And one thing too, I felt like when I've had conversations with friends about me, about certain things that I do that other people don't love, or that affects other people around me, sometimes I feel very attacked in those conversations, and I feel like all I'm getting told is my worst characteristics, the things that I do terribly. And I have left some of these conversations feeling very unlikable, very unlovable, and just thinking, do I have any good qualities? Do these people even like me at all or want me a part of their life if, you know, all I just got was an hour-long conversation about how terrible of a person I am? So that can be something, you know, going into a conversation, whether it's going to be about you, whether it's going to be about someone else, is to remember to point out people's good characteristics as well, not just to focus on the bad, focus on the negative, to also focus on positives, or, you know, offer your feedback or advice of like best ways to kind of handle the situation and all of that. I feel like this is a harder video for me to film because, again, my example is not based off me but someone else, so I'm just trying to be super vague. But again, of course, with these challenge videos, you have to make it individual to you, and that's just one particular situation that I thought that I would point out. But again, I do think uncomfortable conversations can lead, like I said, they can lead to growth, they can lead to better communicating with someone. Even though it's uncomfortable, I think it can lead to better communication lines, more open communication lines, which I think is important with, you know, your personal relationships, whether with family, whether with your spouse, but also with your friendships. I think I've said this before, and I've said it in the challenge videos. I do feel like you have to treat your really close friendships as, you know, seriously as you would your relationships. You have to have good communication in there. You have to take time for one another, you know, and all of that you would put into something like a family relationship or a relationship with your spouse or your partner or something like that. So even though it's tough, sometimes it really is just necessary. And of course, you know, maybe you don't have a conversation that you feel like you want to have today. Maybe it's something that you have to work yourself up to. Maybe it's not going to someone and talking about them. Maybe you want to get some feedback about you, but it might be uncomfortable, you know. Maybe you might be going to someone and saying, what can I improve in this area? Or, you know, I did this, what did you think? You know, I mean, it's going to be so different. So I would love to read your comments for today. Again, don't feel like you have to, you know, share absolutely everything with this challenge. I've gotten a lot of DMs and messages from you guys too, so we can talk a little bit more behind the scenes, which I appreciate so much, and I'm really happy to do. Or if you just want to leave some comments, you know, some encouragement, some motivation for others who are doing it, because today's challenge is a tough one. And again, I don't really expect a lot of people to go out and do this today. But, you know, it can be something to start thinking about, start putting together a conversation that you want to have and all of that, and work towards that goal. So, or maybe you've had the calendar downloaded this whole time and you've seen this one on the list today, and, you know, maybe you already have something planned. So I definitely say good luck, because I know how hard it is. Again, I've had a lot of uncomfortable conversations throughout my years, and through friendships and relationships, marriages, you know, family, and all of that. Marriages, I've only been married one time currently, but you know, my other relationships, now in marriage, family, and all of that. But again, I do think that it can lead to better things. So I think that it's important and a good growth opportunity. So I wanted to include this one on the calendar today. So very anxious to get your feedback on this one. I know it's a tough one. I wish you good luck. Thank you so much if you've been following along with the challenge. I will see you in tomorrow's video. I will have a Saturday upload, and there'll be a little something special in there. So make sure you come by tomorrow.